Hi! For this video, we're gonna learn about naming alkenes. So by this time, before you proceed to this, I hope you have already mastered and learned about alkanes, how we name alkanes, and at the same time, draw the structure of the alkanes, all the saturated or single bond carbons. This time, we're gonna learn about our alkenes. So it's still hydrocarbon chains, but this time you're gonna see the presence of double bonds in our structure. So credits to Vanderbilt that edu. I've adopted this particular simplified version of the steps in order for us to learn about the correct way of naming our alkenes. So we're going to use the document of Vanderbilt, and so they've given already examples on how to contextualize or apply the rule or the steps that are indicated in this document. So let's learn from this. The very first thing that you need to know is name the parent carbon. Name our parent carbon by locating the longest carbon chain that contains the double bond and name it according to the number of carbons with the suffix "ene." So ENE. So again, name the parent carbon by locating the longest carbon chain that contains the double bond. So your basis for the numbering is where the double bond is, and that's where you begin. So you have two similar compounds here, but there's a possibility that you're going to say that this is my hexene is my parent carbon because it's the longest continuous chain. However, that doesn't hold true if you have double bonds already. Now, if you have hexene, that means you start numbering from here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means that doesn't include the double bond, which is wrong. So in alkenes, make sure that you start numbering where the location of your double bond is. Because your double bond is here, that means you start numbering from these two carbons. And of course, you start numbering from the right so that you can still get the longest chain from that double bond. So we start numbering here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that means your parent chain is not hexene but pentene. It's 5. Okay, so specifically the name for this is 1-pentene. You'll know later on that you need to indicate where or what carbon the double bond is located using the smaller number. So between 1 and 2, you use 1 because it's of lower value, and so the complete name for this is 1-pentene. So take note, you number it from where your double bond is located and then find the longest continuous chain. Okay, so that is step number 1. Now let's go to number 2. Number 2, number the carbons of the parent chain so the double bond carbons have the lowest possible number. So we've done that a while ago with pentene. Now, in this unbranched alkene, you see that the double bond is here. You have the option where to start, left or right. Now, because the double bond is nearest or nearer to the right, that means you start numbering from the right. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's a hexene. And because the double bond is in between carbons 2 and 3, we use the smaller number 2. So that becomes 2-hexene. That's the complete name of the unbranched alkene. Okay? So that is for the unbranched alkene. Now, if the double bond is equidistant from each end, left or right, so the first substituent has the lowest number. So substituent means branch. So your double bond is in between 3 carbons to the right and 3 carbons to the left. But you see that on the left, that's where you have the branch. So the second priority that you have is the presence of the substituent or the branch. And because it's closest to the left, then we begin from the left. So we will now number here. So this is carbon 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6. It's still a hexene. And the double bond is in between 3 and 4, so that's a 3-hexene. but there is a branch. So you have to name the branch first according to how we named our alkane before, our branched alkane. So it's in carbon 2, so you mention that first. So that becomes 2-methyl dash 3 dash hexene. So that's the complete name for these compounds. Now take note, every time there is an example, please put this in your notes so you'll know the rules by just looking at the examples. So I hope you have your paper and your pen or your notebook with you, and so please take notes of this. Okay, so that's carbon 2, step number 2, and that's how you're gonna number your carbons in your parent chain, without the branch and with a branch. Let's now go to number 3. Number 3, write out the full name, numbering the substituents according to their position in the chain, and list them in alphabetical order. Now, this is the same with our alkanes. We have to mention the number where the branch is located, and we just have to order them alphabetically. And number 4, indicate the double bond by the number of the first alkene carbon. So how do we indicate where the double bond is? Of course, mention the number where the double bond is. And between the two carbons, of course, it's between two carbons, choose the lower number, and that indicates the position of your double bond. And lastly, for step number 5, if more than one double bond is present, indicate their position by using the number of the first carbon of each double bond, and use the suffix diene for 2 double bonds, triene for 3 double bonds, tetraene for double bonds, and of course, if it's 5, pentaene, then hexaene, heptaene, nonaene, and then decene. So those are the suffixes you're going to use according to how many double bonds you have. So it's really possible that you won't have just one, but you'll have more than one. So let's look at these examples here. You see two double bonds, two double bonds, and it's just 5, and it's wherever I start, whether right or left, it won't matter in this case. So if I have the conventional way, 1 will be from the left, so that's 1 to 5, and no branch, that means I'm going to go right away to naming my alkene. So it's in position carbon 1 and carbon 4, so that's going to be named as 1 comma 4 dash pentadiene. This is just your parent chain. You don't have a branch. If in case you have a branch, put the name of the branch before this name. So it will just be the same idea with alkanes naming of the branch. In second example, you have this. You have two double bonds, but this time the other double bond is in between this carbon and this carbon. So where do you begin? You begin from the left because that's where you're gonna have the nearest double bond. It's where the nearest double bond, and it's gonna give you the lowest possible number for all the double bond locations that you have. So you start from the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So these are numbers 1 and 3. Again, use the lower value if it's shared by two numbers. Use the lower values. It's 1 comma 3 and dash pentadiene. So penta for 5 because there are 5 carbons, and diene because there are 2 double bonds. So that's it. That's the entire overview of the naming of the alkanes the IUPAC way. So I'm just giving you the entire document if you want to have a screenshot of it. So this is simply the basic rules you need to follow. This is still part 1. I'm going to give you more examples in part 2 of naming alkanes. So this is it for this video. This is Madam Narca saying don't stop learning, relearning, and unlearning. God bless you and keep on studying and don't give up. See you soon. Bye bye.